In the ever-twisting corridors of Port Charles, tensions build, secrets tighten their grip, and loyalties are tested in unpredictable ways. As the countdown to the nurses' ball continues, personal ambitions, unresolved traumas, and clandestine motives intersect, turning what should be a time of celebration into a landscape of subtle warfare and emotional reckoning. Jason found himself once again straddling two worlds, the shadowy legacy of the Corinthos business empire and the frayed morality of his evolving identity. His conversation with Sonny was anything but casual. As Sidwell's proposal to buy out their operations loomed, Jason questioned whether giving up control truly meant liberation, or just placing Port Charles in the hands of a more dangerous player. Sonny, long hardened by power and paranoia, appeared torn. The notion of stepping back after decades as the town's most influential figure did not sit easily with him. But the mention of Sidwell wanting to sell off the Corinthos-controlled ship hinted at deeper ambitions that neither Sonny nor Jason could afford to ignore. It wasn't just a sale, it was an erasure of history, and perhaps a provocation toward war. While business dealings brewed behind closed doors, another storm erupted in the form of words: Lulu's article. Tracy, never one to allow loose ends to compromise family standing, cornered Lulu with the full weight of her scrutiny. With sharp precision, she dissected Lulu's journalistic recklessness and warned of the ripple effects it could cause. Lulu, both ambitious and vulnerable, tried to justify her instincts, but in the end, it was Tracy's influence and her subtle appeal to Lulu's conscience that prevailed. The article was deleted, but not forgotten. Truths don't die, they wait. Having extinguished one fire, Tracy turned to another smoldering ember: her lineage. Her command to Jason was simple: find her great-grandchild. But Jason, never one to move on command, made it clear that he would only get involved if Brooke Lynn asked him herself. The gesture was more than defiance, it was his way of returning power to the one person who had the most at stake. Jason's code, once again, shaped his every step. Backstage, the nurses' ball rehearsals offered a thin veneer of joy amidst the chaos. Tracy, alongside Lucy, Anna, and Felicia, immersed herself in performance preparation. Their laughter and choreography masked deeper concerns, each woman carrying the weight of secrets and obligations they hadn't fully unpacked. The ball had always been a place of revelation in Port Charles. This year would be no different. Elsewhere, Emma faced a personal unraveling. Having pinned her hopes on the assistant position with the enigmatic Professor Dalton, she was devastated to learn she hadn't been chosen. That honor went to Jocelyn, who had no idea her acceptance would ignite a flame of betrayal in someone she once called a friend. Emma, emotionally raw, confronted Joss, only to discover that her own research errors had led to her disqualification. The sting of truth was more cutting than any perceived backstabbing. Still, the image of Joss occupying her dreams, her space, her future, was unbearable. What Jocelyn didn't realize was that her appointment by Dalton was less about merit and more about strategy. Dalton had plans of his own, ones that seemed to require Joss and Vaughn working in tandem to dig through his private files. Whether they did so willingly or under pressure was unknown, but their presence in his office, rifling through documents, suggested that whatever Dalton was hiding was far more explosive than a mere academic appointment. Meanwhile, Curtis wrestled with Portia's wavering stance on Drew. Initially dead set on keeping him out of the media spotlight, she seemed to be softening, or perhaps calculating. Curtis, sensing the shift, confided in Jordan, unsure whether to trust Portia's new attitude or brace for betrayal. Jordan listened, torn between her role as friend and her past with Curtis. She knew better than anyone that in Port Charles, people rarely changed, they just adjusted their masks. As layers peeled back, another twist emerged. Lulu approached Carly with her suspicions about Gio. With a journalist's instinct and a mother's intuition, Lulu hinted that Gio wasn't who he seemed. Carly, a veteran of lies and half-truths, urged caution. Her warning was clear: don't detonate a family with theories. Bring proof or don't bring it at all. The mention of Gio raised further alarms for Jason, who now found himself considering Tracis' request in a new light. If Gio was tied to Tracis' past or present in ways yet to be understood, then his identity could be the thread that unraveled the entire tapestry. Jason's terms still stood. Brooke Lynn would have to make the request, but the seed of concern had been planted. Back in the dance studio, what should have been a rehearsal for the nurses' ball took on an emotional tone. Chase, Anna, and Gio practiced a tango, each step choreographed not just to music but to memory. Chase danced with intensity, using the rhythm to focus his energy. Anna, graceful as ever, moved with a sense of control she rarely felt elsewhere. Gio, in contrast, carried unspoken tension in every movement. The dance was more than a performance, it was an unspoken confession. In the final hours before the storm, relationships buckled under pressure. Emma, no longer furious but broken, began to see her own fault in the unraveling of her dream. She may not have gotten the job, but in the process, she gained a mirror into her own insecurities. Jocelyn, still unsure of what Dalton truly wanted from her, leaned on Vaughn as they dug deeper into the professor's secrets. Whatever they were about to uncover could reshape the lives of many in Port Charles. And as Sonny sat down with Laura to discuss Sidwell's grand plan, the broader picture came into focus. Sidwell wasn't just leaving the business. He was selling a future, a vessel of power, history, and influence that had belonged to Sonny for decades. For Laura, it was a moment to reflect on what such a shift would mean for Port Charles. For Sonny, it was something far more intimate. It was the closing of a chapter he wasn't ready to end. With every move, every conversation, and every silence, the people of Port Charles inched closer to revelations that would shake their foundations. Behind the glitz of the nurses' ball, beneath the facade of performance, deeper truths were waiting to be exposed. And when the curtain finally rises, some secrets may be too big to dance around.